Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. Today in this tutorial, we would like to stylize some kind of HTML form elements. For say, we are about to stylize the radio buttons. Now, in this particular case, it is practically very difficult to stylize your radio elements. The web page that is currently being displayed to us, it is practically part of the browser. It is practically obeying the default properties as specified by the browser, and that is why it is very difficult to stylize all those elements. But in that case, we can make some certain tweaks in an order to overcome that particular problem, and we can set our own default properties for some core elements like some HTML form elements like radio buttons or select options, etc. But right now we will be discussing on about this particular HTML radio buttons, and before we proceed, here comes the final result. There you go. You can see that all of these elements, those are practically radio buttons. Instead of those circular, those spherical buttons present into your HTML browser, now we can see that we can practically customize all those radio elements into a particular pattern, something like this one. So this is the thing that we are going to learn in this particular tutorial. Now in this case, we will be needing two different pages such as this form.html and this form style.css that we have created so far, and on the other hand, we have established this link over here. But in an order to understand that whether this particular link is in activation, we need to check it on into our style sheet element as I had prescribed earlier. In that case, first of all, put some HTML properties here such as this background color. There it goes. Now we have selected that the HTML page, this is the HTML page of form.html with which this particular form style.css is being connected. It will be having a background color of yellow. This is what we have prescribed here. Now if we get back to our project and reload, we can see that the HTML form.html here, it is practically getting into a yellow color, yellow background color. So we can definitely say that the link is been established over here. So in the next case, all we are going to do, as I have prescribed earlier, that we need to put this margin 0 condition and padding of 0 condition. That means all the default values of margin and padding is now set to 0 bits. Now these are the two things that we have initiated in the prior case. We have already defined all those properties over here. Now let's head back to the core subject that we were about to discuss over here. We have to practically create a new form element over here consisting of some radio buttons. So in that purpose, the very first thing that we are going to do, we are going to create a div class which will be known as form holder. There it goes. If you get back into your project and reload, you won't be witnessing anything because so far we haven't defined any properties against this particular class of form holder into our form style.css. In the next case, all we need to do, first of all, let's create the form. As I had told you previously, that first of all, clarify the data posting property over here. It will be post. In the next case, we need to create an ID over here which will be naming as test form. So we have created our form field, and as I have told, you have initiated this form over here. So all you need to do first, you need to close it. There it goes. In the next case, we need to put some kind of radio buttons over here, and in this purpose all we are going to do, we are going to create some radio buttons inside like this. Input type radio, ID for say will be name1, name attribute is set to candidate, value would be for say Pankaj. Now all we are going to do, we are going to copy this whole thing here in the very first case, and we are going to create it 4 more times. We are going to change all those parameters right over here. We are going to change this name Now if we leave it up to this far and get back to our project and reload, we can see that this will be practically the result. As well as we can see that there's practically nothing being displayed over here instead of some kind of circular boxes over here. So in order to prepare that, the very first thing that we are going to do, we are going to create some label elements. So in the first case, let's put this label for whom, name1, and here we will be naming it as Pankaj. The next thing that we are going to do, we are going to copy it and we are going to paste it right over here. We need to, as usually, change all those parameters. So let's have a recap over here. What we had done so far, we had created a particular div element inside which we have created a form element, and inside this particular form element we have created all those radio buttons right over here, and we have provided some labels against it. This is the advancement so far. So if we press Ctrl S and get back to our project and reload, we can see that this will be the result. Everything is right into its position, and if we want that this first radio button should be checked at the time of loading the page, then all we have to do, make this thing as checked, and this should be changed in case of this first radio button, as I have indicated that I want to keep it selected, keep the first radio button selected while it is being loaded into your page. So if we have pressed here Ctrl S, then let's get back to our project and reload, and we can see that in the very first case Pankaj is now getting selected, but this Dhiman, Arman, Oni, all of these radio buttons, those are practically kept unselected. So this is it up to this far. Now all we need to do, we need to do something in an order to create this kind of radio checkbox into our project.